Ladies and gentlemen, listen closely, because this could change the way you see yourself forever. Every day, millions of people scroll, watch, and observe the highlight reels of others. They see success, beauty, wealth, and power. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispers, "You're not enough." But here's the truth, your journey is yours. No one else has lived your experiences. No one else has faced your battles, learned your lessons, or carried your dreams. You are on a path that no one can replicate. And that's your greatest strength. Every single person walking this earth carries a story that no one else can truly understand. Your life is made up of a series of moments, decisions, struggles, and triumphs that have shaped you into who you are today. And yet, too often, people fall into the trap of measuring their worth by comparing themselves to someone else's path. They look at someone who seems ahead, who seems more successful, who seems happier, and they start questioning their own worth. But what they fail to realize is this: the paths are not the same. Your journey is unique. It was never meant to look like anyone else's. It was designed with your growth, your breakthroughs, and your destiny in mind. Think about it. From the moment you were born, your environment, your family, your culture, your experiences, your pain, your joy, all of these became the ingredients of your journey. No one else has walked through the exact combination of circumstances that you have. No one has faced your specific storms. Even if two people grow up in the same house, their interpretations of those events are different. One sibling might see challenge and find strength. Another might see the same event and find a different meaning. Your perspective, your emotions, your response to life, they are yours alone. That's why comparing your progress to someone else's is not only unfair, it's fundamentally flawed. You are comparing two completely different paths, two completely different missions. When people compare, they often focus on surface level snapshots. They see someone else's highlight reel, the success, the recognition, the achievements, the moments of glory. But they don't see the sleepless nights, the doubts, the sacrifices, the failures that came before those victories. And even if they did, their own journey is not meant to be a copy. If you plant an oak tree and a rose bush side by side, you wouldn't judge the oak for not blooming flowers or the rose for not growing tall like the oak. They have different timelines, different strengths, different purposes. In the same way, your life has its own rhythm. Your timing is not late. Your timing is not early. It's exactly when it's supposed to be. Too many people waste precious energy trying to run someone else's race. They mimic, they imitate, they chase paths that were never meant for them. They see someone excelling in a certain field and think, maybe I should do that too. But if that direction doesn't align with your purpose, you'll always feel out of sync. You can never outperform someone on their path better than you can on your own. The secret is not to run faster in their lane. The secret is to run your race with clarity, intensity, and unwavering belief. There are people who are meant to rise quickly. Their breakthroughs come early, and their lessons are learned fast. But there are also those whose greatness unfolds slowly, like a masterpiece being painted stroke by stroke. If you judge your worth based on how fast someone else reaches their goals, you'll rob yourself of the beauty of your own becoming. Some flowers bloom in the spring, some bloom in the fall, but all bloom when the time is right. Your timeline is not broken. It's simply unfolding. Your uniqueness is your superpower. The exact combination of talents, flaws, dreams, and struggles you carry is what makes you capable of impacting the world in your own way. There is something inside you that no one else can offer. There are words only you can speak, ideas only you can express, lives only you can touch. And the moment you stop trying to be a second-rate version of someone else and start embracing the full, unfiltered version of you, you begin to step into a power that can't be replicated. There's no competition when you're fully being yourself. Think about the people who have made the greatest impact in the world. They weren't imitators. They were originals. They owned their differences. They leaned into their unique perspectives. They trusted their instincts even when the world didn't understand them. If they had spent their time comparing themselves to the standards of others, they would have dimmed their own brilliance. Your journey demands the same courage. It asks you to trust the process even when the destination isn't clear. It asks you to keep moving forward even when others seem ahead. It asks you to focus not on where they are, but on where you are going. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is to redefine what success means for you personally. Not what society says, not what your family expects, not what you see on social media. What does success look like for you? Maybe it's building a business that impacts lives. Maybe it's raising a family with love. Maybe it's creating art that moves people. Maybe it's living in alignment with your values every single day. When you define success on your own terms, the urge to compare begins to fade because you realize you're not even playing the same game. Their scoreboard isn't your scoreboard. Another key element is patience. We live in a world that glorifies speed. Everyone wants overnight results, instant success, immediate recognition. But real growth takes time. Real mastery requires patience. When you understand that your journey has its own pace, you stop pressuring yourself to catch up. You stop feeling like you're behind because you realize there's no universal finish line. The race you're running is against the person you were yesterday, not against the person next to you. Challenges, setbacks, and delays are not signs that your path is broken. They are signs that your path is shaping you. Every detour, every obstacle, every closed door is part of the process that refines your strength, deepens your wisdom, and prepares you for what's ahead. Some lessons can't be rushed. Some growth can't happen without resistance. A diamond is formed under pressure. A sword is sharpened through friction. Your journey is molding you in ways you may not fully see yet. There's also something profoundly liberating about embracing your uniqueness. It takes the pressure off. When you stop trying to fit into someone else's mold, you free yourself to create your own. You give yourself permission to fail differently, succeed differently, express differently. You stop judging yourself for not matching their results, and you start appreciating your progress in your own way. You start noticing the small wins, the personal growth, the quiet victories that no one else may see, but that matter deeply. Imagine if every person in the world tried to be exactly the same. Imagine if everyone pursued the same career, dressed the same way, spoke the same way, thought the same thoughts. The world would be a dull, lifeless place. Diversity of thought, of talent, of expression is what makes humanity vibrant. Your difference is what adds color to the world. Your unique path is a contribution. And when you try to erase that by comparing and conforming, you deprive the world of something only you can give. When you truly embrace your unique journey, something shifts internally. The constant noise of, am I good enough, starts to fade. The pressure to match someone else's timeline loses its grip. You start to feel grounded, centered, powerful in your own lane. You look at others not as competitors, but as fellow travelers on different roads. Their success no longer intimidates you, it inspires you. You learn to celebrate others while staying rooted in your own growth. This doesn't mean you shouldn't learn from others. There's immense value in observing, learning, and drawing inspiration. But the key is to apply those lessons in a way that fits your journey, not to become a clone of someone else's. Take what resonates, adapt it, and let it fuel your own evolution. Ultimately, the moment you fully accept that your journey is unique is the moment you begin to unlock your real potential. You stop living reactively, chasing, comparing, doubting, and start living intentionally. You set your own pace. You focus on your vision. You honor your struggles as part of your story. You recognize that you are exactly where you need to be in order to learn what you need to learn to become who you're meant to become. There will always be someone ahead. There will always be someone with more money, more achievements, more visibility. But their path is theirs. Your path is yours. And the measure of your life is not how well you match theirs, but how fully you live yours. When you reach the end of your journey, you won't be judged on how you compared to someone else. You'll be measured by how true you were to the person you were meant to be. So embrace your path, own it. Trust it. Your journey is not a mistake. It's not too slow. It's not less valuable. It's yours. And when you walk it with confidence and purpose, you'll find that everything you've been chasing outside of yourself starts to unfold naturally. Because the moment you stop trying to live someone else's story, you begin to fully live your own. There's a silent thief that creeps into people's lives every single day. It doesn't break down doors. It doesn't make loud noises. It doesn't announce itself. It slips in quietly through a moment of distraction, a scroll on social media, a conversation overheard, a glance at someone else's success. It whispers, look at them, they're ahead, they're better, you're behind. And without realizing it, you start to shrink. Your energy fades, your motivation wavers, your focus fractures. That thief is comparison. And if you don't take control of it, it will slowly and systematically kill your progress. Progress is built on momentum. It's built on consistent, deliberate steps forward, no matter how big or small. It's the compounding effect of daily actions that creates breakthroughs over time. But comparison interrupts that momentum. It shifts your attention away from what you can control and locks it onto what someone else is doing. Suddenly, instead of channeling your energy into your goals, you waste it judging, doubting, envying, analyzing. The path that once felt clear begins to blur. The motivation that once burned bright starts to flicker. What used to be your race turns into someone else's. When you compare yourself to others, you unconsciously set their results as your standard. But here's the truth: their results are based on their path, their timing, their circumstances, their choices. You can't replicate that perfectly, nor should you try. And yet, comparison tricks the mind into thinking that your worth is determined by how you measure up to them. You look at their pace and assume you're slow. You look at their achievements and assume you're lacking. You look at their happiness and assume you're failing. But in reality, none of those assumptions are grounded in the full picture. You're comparing your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel. You're taking your raw, unfiltered journey and measuring it against a carefully curated image. The problem isn't just emotional, it's deeply practical. Every moment spent comparing is a moment stolen from action. You can't build something great while constantly looking sideways. Imagine a runner on the track who keeps turning their head to see where everyone else is. They lose speed. They stumble. They drift out of their lane. The fastest runners focus straight ahead, not because they don't care about others, but because they know that the only way to maximize their potential is to give full attention to their own performance. Comparison is like turning your head mid-sprint. It slows you down, sometimes just a little, sometimes drastically, but it always disrupts forward motion. Comparison also plants the seeds of self-doubt, and self-doubt is a momentum killer. When you look at someone who seems to be achieving more faster, easier, your mind starts to question your abilities. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I started too late. Maybe I don't have what it takes. Those thoughts don't just stay in your head, they affect your behavior. You hesitate before making decisions. You procrastinate on taking action. You lower your expectations. You talk yourself out of opportunity. Slowly, progress grinds to a halt. Not because you lack potential, but because you allowed comparison to erode your belief in yourself. There's another trap. Comparison can lead to resentment. Instead of feeling inspired by others, you start to feel bitter. You wonder why they have it easier. You start to rationalize their success as luck or unfair advantage. That bitterness turns into resistance. You subconsciously push away your own growth because it's painful to acknowledge someone else's wins. It's like trying to run a race while carrying a heavy backpack of negativity. Every step forward feels harder than it needs to. Resentment consumes energy that could have been used to build, create, and improve. On the flip side, sometimes comparison gives people a temporary boost. They see someone doing better, and it lights a fire under them to push harder. But this motivation is unstable. It's rooted in ego and insecurity rather than genuine drive. When you use comparison as fuel, you might get a short burst of energy, but it doesn't last. Eventually, the moment you can't beat the other person, your motivation collapses. Real, sustainable progress comes from an internal standard, not an external scoreboard. One of the most damaging aspects of comparison is how it distorts perception. It creates a false narrative about what progress should look like. You see someone reach a milestone and assume they did it effortlessly. You don't see the years of work, the sacrifices, the failures, the tears, the late nights that built that moment. So when your own path feels messy, difficult, or slow, you assume you're doing something wrong. But progress isn't always linear. Sometimes it's chaotic. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. Comparison tricks you into believing that struggle is a sign of inadequacy, when in fact, struggle is often the clearest sign that growth is happening. Comparison doesn't just slow individuals, it can paralyze entire dreams. There are countless people who never started their business, their art, their book, their journey, because they looked around and saw someone else doing it better and thought, what's the point? Imagine how many ideas the world has lost because someone compared themselves out of taking the first step. Imagine how many voices went unheard because someone decided theirs wasn't as polished. Progress isn't about being the best. It's about becoming your best. If you let comparison decide whether you start or not, you'll always find a reason to stay stuck. When you free yourself from the grip of comparison, something powerful happens. You reclaim your energy. You redirect focus from what others are doing back to what matters. Your actions, your growth, your next step. You stop wasting mental space worrying about someone else's timeline and start using that energy to build momentum on your own. It's like turning off a dozen distracting screens and finally locking in on the work in front of you. Progress accelerates when focus returns. Another subtle way comparison kills progress is through constant shifting of goals. When you compare, your definition of success keeps changing based on who you're looking at. One moment you want financial success because you saw someone flaunting wealth. The next moment you want fame because someone else is getting attention. Then you want freedom because another person is traveling the world. Your target moves every time your attention shifts. You can't hit a moving target. Real progress requires a clear, stable vision. Comparison keeps you chasing shadows instead of building substance. There's also the danger of settling. Comparison doesn't always make people feel behind. Sometimes it tricks them into thinking they're ahead. They look at someone who seems to be doing less, and they relax. They stop pushing. They think, I'm doing better than them, so I'm fine. But this is a false ceiling. Just because you're ahead of someone else doesn't mean you're anywhere near your potential. If your standard is external, you'll either feel perpetually inadequate or prematurely satisfied. Neither state supports true growth. The only meaningful standard is the one you set for yourself, based on your capacity and vision. Progress requires courage. The courage to keep going despite not having all the answers, despite setbacks, despite uncertainty. Comparison undermines that courage because it constantly reminds you of what you don't have or haven't achieved yet. It amplifies fear, it magnifies insecurity. And fear and insecurity, when left unchecked, lead to hesitation, and hesitation kills momentum. You can't move forward boldly while constantly looking over your shoulder at what everyone else is doing. Breaking free from comparison is not about ignoring others completely. It's about changing your relationship with them. Instead of measuring yourself against them, learn from them. Be inspired, not intimidated. Let their achievements show you what's possible, not what's lacking in you. Use their stories as proof that growth can happen, not as evidence that you're behind. When you shift from comparison to inspiration, you unlock a powerful force. Suddenly, other people's success becomes fuel for your own progress rather than a weight holding you back. It's also important to recognize that your journey is made up of seasons. There will be seasons of rapid growth where everything clicks, and there will be seasons of stillness where it feels like nothing is happening. Both are necessary. If you compare your winter to someone else's spring, you'll misinterpret your season and make poor decisions. Instead of nurturing your roots, you'll start digging them up. Instead of trusting the process, you'll panic and abandon it. Comparison blinds you to the wisdom of your own timing. Progress flourishes in environments of clarity, confidence, and consistency. Comparison introduces confusion, doubt, and inconsistency. It's like trying to plant seeds in soil that's constantly being dug up. Nothing stable can grow that way. When you stop comparing, you allow your roots to go deep. You stay in your lane, keep taking steps, keep building. Over time, those consistent actions compound into massive results. There will always be people ahead of you. There will always be people behind you. That's the nature of life. But the moment you stop turning your progress into a competition with others, you create space to compete with the only person who truly matters, yourself. If you can focus on being better today than you were yesterday, if you can consistently push your own boundaries, if you can maintain your own momentum, comparison loses its power. Progress becomes inevitable because your energy is fully aligned with your mission. The thief of comparison thrives in silence, in unconscious habits, in unchecked thoughts. But once you bring awareness to it, once you catch yourself in the act, you can disarm it. You can remind yourself that their path is theirs, and yours is yours. You can shift focus back to action. You can redirect energy into building rather than comparing. And when you do, you'll find that progress, which once felt slow and frustrating, begins to accelerate naturally. Comparison doesn't make you smarter, faster, or stronger. It distracts, distorts, and drains. It takes what could have been powerful momentum and scatters it in 1,000 directions. But when you choose to focus on your own path, to keep your eyes forward, to measure your growth by your standards, you reclaim your power. You take back control of your progress. You become unstoppable, not because you're better than others, but because you've stopped letting others dictate your pace. The truth is simple: comparison kills progress. The good news is you have the power to stop it. It starts with awareness, followed by a conscious choice to focus inward rather than outward. Every time you catch yourself comparing, bring your attention back to your own goals, your own journey, your own next step. Do that consistently, and watch how quickly your progress starts to build again. Not in fits and starts, but in steady, unstoppable momentum. Every person who has achieved something extraordinary has one thing in common: they decided to focus on their own growth rather than obsessing over the competition. They understood that real power doesn't come from constantly measuring yourself against others, but from the relentless pursuit of becoming a better version of yourself every single day. When your attention is locked on personal growth, distractions fade, comparison weakens, and your potential begins to unfold in ways you may have never imagined. Most people grow up in environments where competition is embedded deeply into their mindset. From childhood, they're told to get better grades than the person next to them, to run faster than their classmates, to be the best in their group. On the surface, competition can drive performance, but if it becomes the foundation of your motivation, you become dependent on external reference points to feel valuable. Your self-worth starts to fluctuate based on how you stack up against others. The danger is that you're no longer driven by your own vision. You're driven by beating someone else. That kind of motivation is fragile, temporary, and ultimately unsatisfying. When you focus on competition, your energy becomes reactive. You're constantly adjusting your direction based on what others are doing. If they speed up, you feel pressure to match them. If they slow down, you might relax, thinking you're ahead. Your sense of purpose becomes tied to their movements. But when you focus on growth, your energy becomes proactive. You set your own standards. You decide your pace. You measure progress against your past self, not against someone else's present. You become internally anchored, and that creates a kind of power that external circumstances can't shake. Growth is about expansion. It's about stretching your limits, challenging your beliefs, and developing skills that make you more capable, resilient, and impactful. It's not a one-time event. It's a way of living. Every challenge you face is an invitation to grow. Every setback is a lesson. Every small win is a building block. When you approach life this way, you stop seeing others as threats and start seeing them as teachers' mirrors, or sometimes just background noise. Their paths may intersect with yours, but they don't define your trajectory. Focusing on growth changes how you respond to failure. In a competition mindset, failure feels like proof that you're losing. It's humiliating. It can crush your confidence because you start thinking someone else is winning while you're falling behind. But in a growth mindset, failure is information. It's feedback. It's a signal that something didn't work, and that means you've just discovered a new way to learn. Instead of feeling defeated, you feel challenged. You analyze, adapt, and rise stronger. Growth-minded people don't fear failure, they harvest it. They turn setbacks into fuel for evolution. There's something liberating about making growth your focus. It removes the ceiling from your potential. If your goal is to beat others, what happens when you finally do? You become complacent. You relax. You stop pushing because you've won. But growth has no finish line. There's always another level, another skill to master, another layer of potential to unlock. That doesn't mean you live in constant dissatisfaction. It means you live in constant expansion. It means you wake up every day with a sense of purpose, knowing that no matter where you are now, there's always room to elevate. This approach also creates resilience. People who are obsessed with competition often crumble when the competition disappears or changes. Their motivation dries up. But those who focus on growth can thrive in any environment because their drive comes from within. They're not chasing a moving target outside themselves. They're climbing their own mountain. That makes them adaptable, steady, and consistent even when the world shifts around them. When you focus on growth, you stop wasting energy on things you can't control. You can't control how fast someone else improves. You can't control their circumstances, opportunities, or advantages. You can only control your decisions, your actions, your effort, and your attitude. By channeling your energy into what you can control, you become far more effective. You stop burning out trying to outpace others and start building something sustainable from the inside out. Focusing on growth also transforms how you view others' success. Instead of feeling threatened, you feel inspired. You start to see evidence of what's possible rather than evidence of what you're lacking. When someone achieves something great, you don't think, I have to beat them. You think, what can I learn from that? How can I grow from this example? That shift alone removes so much unnecessary emotional weight. It allows you to celebrate others sincerely, without resentment or insecurity, because your progress is not tied to theirs. Growth demands honesty. You can't fake it. You can't hide behind surface-level wins or appearances. When you're truly committed to growing, you have to confront your weaknesses, your blind spots, your limiting beliefs. You have to be willing to look at yourself objectively and say, this is where I am, and here's where I need to improve. That kind of honesty is uncomfortable at first, but it's the foundation of real transformation. You stop playing games and start building substance. People often ask, if I'm not competing, won't I become lazy? The answer is no. If you truly commit to growth, laziness has no place to hide. Competition can light a short-term fire, but growth builds a deep, enduring flame. When you set clear personal standards, when you hold yourself accountable to becoming better every day, you develop internal discipline. You don't need someone else's achievements to push you. Your vision pushes you. Your goals pull you forward. You become your own source of motivation, and that's far more powerful than any external rivalry. Focusing on growth also allows you to celebrate progress in a way competition never does. When you're competing, even big wins can feel empty if someone else did better. You could improve massively, but if someone still outperformed you, you might feel like a failure. But when growth is your metric, every step forward matters. You start acknowledging the small wins, the tiny improvements, the incremental shifts that lead to massive transformation over time. That builds confidence, and confidence builds momentum. One of the greatest benefits of focusing on growth is that it brings a sense of peace. Competition breeds tension, always looking over your shoulder, always feeling like someone is catching up, always needing to prove yourself. It's exhausting. But when your focus is on growth, you can be intense without being anxious. You can work hard without feeling threatened. You can push yourself without burning out emotionally, because you're not constantly fighting an invisible opponent. You're simply becoming more of who you can be. Growth is also deeply personal. It's not just about skills or achievements. It's about character, mindset, emotional intelligence, resilience, and contribution. As you grow, you change the way you think, the way you interact with others, the way you see the world. You start leading yourself better. And when you lead yourself better, everything around you improves. Relationships become richer. Work becomes more meaningful. Challenges become opportunities rather than obstacles. This is the kind of transformation competition alone can never offer. Another important aspect of focusing on growth is that it makes your success more sustainable. When your achievements are built on beating others, they're fragile. If someone else surpasses you, your sense of identity crumbles. But when your achievements are built on personal growth, they're solid. No one can take away the skills you've developed, the mindset you've built, the wisdom you've gained. That's yours forever. It becomes part of who you are, not just what you've accomplished. In every field, sports, business, art, education, the people who rise to the top and stay there are the ones who keep growing. They don't rest on their achievements. They don't obsess over who's chasing them. They focus on refining, improving, innovating. They constantly ask, how can I be better? Not how can I beat them? That's why they maintain excellence over time. They understand that external competition might push you once, but internal growth pushes you for life. Focusing on growth also creates space for collaboration. When you're stuck in competition mode, you see others as threats, so you hold back, you hide, you protect. But when growth is the goal, collaboration becomes natural. You realize that other people's strengths can help you grow. You share ideas, you learn from each other, you build together. This amplifies progress exponentially because you're not wasting energy guarding your ego. It's also worth noting that focusing on growth doesn't mean ignoring excellence or ambition. It's not about being passive or lowering your standards. It's about raising your standards so high that they're not dependent on anyone else's performance. It's about demanding more from yourself because you know you're capable of more, not because someone else is forcing you to keep up. This kind of ambition is clean, powerful, and enduring. Imagine a world where everyone focused on growth instead of competition. People would stop tearing each other down and start lifting themselves up. Innovation would explode because minds would be free from insecurity. Progress would accelerate because energy would be directed inward, not wasted on comparison. The truth is, you can't control how anyone else grows. You can only control your own evolution. So why waste time competing in a race you can't win? Why not build your own race? The most rewarding victories in life don't come from standing on top of someone else. They come from standing on top of the person you used to be. When you look back and see how far you've come, not compared to others, but compared to your past self, you feel a kind of pride that no trophy can give. It's deep, it's personal, it's real. Your focus determines your direction. If you focus on competition, you'll always be reacting. If you focus on growth, you'll always be evolving. One path keeps you trapped in cycles of comparison. The other frees you to become limitless. The choice is yours. Every day you decide where to place your attention. Every day, you either feed your growth or feed your need to prove yourself against others. And that decision, repeated over time, determines your destiny. Focus on growth. And the competition won't matter anymore. Not because it disappears, but because it loses its grip on you. You'll become the kind of person who doesn't just achieve, but becomes. You'll stop chasing temporary wins and start building lasting greatness. And when you do, you'll discover that the most powerful victory was never about beating anyone else. It was about unlocking the full power of who you were meant to be.